My family spent my $7,800 Christmas gift without me, kicked me out. So I cut them off, sued them, and watched their lives fall apart. I stood outside in the frigid air, my breath apparent against the December night, clutching the present bags I'd spent weeks meticulously putting together. Inside, the illumination of the Christmas tree bounced off the window panes, and laughing filled the dining room. The door slammed shut behind me with an unsettling click. "You don't belong here," my sister snarled as the door closed. I caught a last glimpse of her arrogant expression as she returned to the table, her expensive necklace sparkling beneath the chandelier. The entire family was gathered around the big oak table I'd purchased for them last year. They were toasting with champagne that I had mistakenly purchased for. My $7,800 holiday money was being spent joyfully, without me. I remained there for a time, blinking away the sting of cold and betrayal. My hands trembled somewhat, although not due to the cold winter air. From within, I could still hear my father's voice. Family only at this table. Family. That term felt poisonous now. The reality was I should have seen this coming. 4 years, I had been the silent financier in their lives, paying off my sister's credit card debt, assisting my parents with their increasing expenditures, paying for my niece's school tuition, summer camps, and even contributing to my brother-in-law's failing business attempt. Nonetheless, I was shunned, dismissed, and treated as an undesirable outsider. I slowly turned and headed back to my car, the snow crunching under my boots. The brightly wrapped presents in my back seat now resembled some horrible prank. I had carefully selected something special for each of them, including a designer pocketbook for my sister, a limited edition watch for my father, and even a package of rare teas that my mother claimed she enjoyed. But none of this mattered, not to them. As I sat behind the wheel, staring blankly ahead, something in me cracked. But not in the way they expected or intended. I did not cry. I did not beg. Instead, for the first time in years, I felt clear. I would no longer serve as the family's ATM. I would no longer subsidize their extravagances as they spit vitriol behind my back. If they sought space, I would offer them just that. So, while they toasted to my absence inside, I started planning my own type of holiday gift. One they couldn't return or ignore. 2 days later, after freezing every credit card, canceling every automated payment, and cutting off every financial lifeline they had come to rely on, I slipped one more package into the mailbox. Certified mail. Legal paperwork enclosed. Their new year would begin not with fireworks, but with legal documents. You could assume it all began on Christmas Eve. You would be wrong. My family's decay had been spreading for years, like mold creeping under fine wallpaper. The truth is that I was never actually a part of their family. Instead, I was a living pocketbook. It started after college. I'd landed a good job, nothing extravagant but consistent. My sister Ramona, the family's jewel, had already developed a thirst for luxury beyond her means. My father loved to joke that she was born in fancy shoes. My mother dubbed her, our little princess. And me? I was the practical one, which, in their vernacular, meant the one who paid. When Ramona's husband abandoned her after cheating, lying, and depleting their funds, my parents turned to me. Family helps family, my mother repeated like a broken record, her eyes wide with guilt and manipulation. I agreed. Of course I did. My niece Tilda was just 4 at the time. Someone needed to keep a roof over their heads. The rent came first, followed by groceries, utility bills, and never-ending crises. You're such a good son. Your sister is lucky to have you, my father would add, never reaching for his own wallet. But the true poison came later when Ramona resumed work at a job with good pay and full benefits. I assumed my role would finally be reduced. I had given up vacations, promotions, and even relationships to keep my family together. Instead of being grateful, Ramona evolved. She upgraded her car while I drove my 10-year-old sedan. She purchased fancy bags while I cut coupons for groceries. She put Tilda in private ballet classes, while I ignored my own medical appointments to avoid additional costs. They still wanted more. You make more money than us, Ramona would add, her voice sugary sweet but full of malice. It's only fair. My parents, sitting silently at the dinner table, would invariably nod in agreement. Of course they did. The arrangement worked out nicely for them. However, their avarice was far from the worst part. The hardest part was the embarrassment. Ramona would make subtle comments during family dinners. "Oh, don't be so cheap, Malcolm," she'd snarl whenever I questioned her newest extravagant purchase. "Not everyone can live like you, no vacations, no hobbies. But I guess that's how you afford to help us, right, Mom?" The audience would explode in uneasy laughter as if mocking me with an inside joke. I'd fake a laugh and swallow my pride again. But everything changed the night I overheard them. I had come early on Thanksgiving. As I moved gently into the house, I heard voices in the kitchen. "Honestly, Ramona," my dad said with laughter, "your brother's such a loser. No wife, no kids, nothing. He clings to this family like it's all he's got." "Yeah," my sister said, her voice pouring with hatred. "He should be grateful we even included him at all. I mean, who else would tolerate him? At least he pays my bills." They laughed. My mother joined in. I froze. All those years of sacrifice, of quietly enduring every financial setback, of being the reliable one, and this is what they said about me behind closed doors? I did not confront them that night. Not yet. I exited silently, my stomach burning like acid, but something inside me moved irrevocably. For the first time I let myself see the truth. They did not love me. They adored what I offered. My sister's demands escalated during the next month. She contacted me to see if I could cover a $5,000 loan for a down payment on a luxury timeshare. I replied, no. Her answer was quick and nasty. "Well, after everything I've done for you," she murmured. "Don't be a selfish loser, Malcolm." That word again, loser. The next day my father contacted me, his voice full with manufactured disappointment. "Son, you know Ramona is struggling. What's a few thousand to you? You've always helped before." I nearly laughed. Struggling, with her designer handbags, spa weekends and lavish vacations? Struggling. Then came the ultimate insult. My sister texted me. "You're lucky we still let you sit with us at the family table. Most families like yours would have already cut out dead weight." That Christmas they did just that. And when my father shut the door in my face and said, "Family only at this table," he wasn't simply banning me from supper. They were alienating me from the entire family. But this is the bit they didn't expect. I had receipts, literal receipts. I made bank statements, wire transfers, and credit card payments on their behalf for many years. Every dollar I spent bailing them out. Every loan I covered. I paid every charge discreetly as they chuckled behind me, my back. Everything is carefully documented. And now, everything was in my lawyer's hands because it wasn't just about emotions anymore. It was financial exploitation. Fraud. And when they opened that envelope on New Year's Day, certified mail, priority delivery, they'd know I wasn't the loser in the family. I was their victim. Victims ultimately fight back. The certified letter arrived on January 2nd, shortly after they had spent my money on their extravagant New Year's Eve party. I know exactly how it happened. My father would have opened the envelope first, his face twisted in confusion as he took out the heavy stack of legal paperwork. My mother probably attempted to read over his shoulder. Ramona, my sister, stood behind them, arms crossed, smug as she often is, but suddenly the smugness faded. Because those papers included a comprehensive financial audit. Every transaction. Every loan. I had been providing secret bailouts for more than 6 years, itemized, time-stamped, and accompanied by my lawyer's demand for full restitution on the basis of financial abuse, coercion, and sustained exploitation. Also attached, a notice of pending civil litigation. I did not hear from them for 3 days. Then my phone rang. It was my dad. The shouting began immediately after I answered. "What do you think you're doing?" he said so loudly that I had to remove the phone from my ear. "You're suing your own family?" I remained calm and ice-cold. "I'm protecting myself," I stated bluntly. "From people who used me legally, financially, emotionally for years." "You ungrateful little," my father's voice broke with wrath. "After everything we've done for you?" "You mean after everything I've done for you?" I corrected. "After the thousands I've poured into your bills, your vacations, Ramona's shopping sprees, Tilda's private school, and all while you sat back, laughing behind my back." "Yes. You're welcome." My mother jumped onto the line. She must have been on speaker. Her voice was filled with fake tears. "Sweetheart, please. We're family. We made mistakes. But this is cruel." "You kicked me out of Christmas," I replied quietly but steadily. "You made your choice. Now I'm making mine." Then came Ramona. As expected, she couldn't resist inserting herself. "You've always thought you were better than us," she snarled. "All you've ever done is hold money over our heads. You were just bitter that I was the favorite." Favorite? Even now she could not stop herself. "You're right, Ramona," I replied, my tone as icy as ice. "You were the favorite. Congratulations. But your little reign is over. The court will see exactly how much you appreciated me." "You wouldn't dare," she said angrily. "It's already done." I hung up. For the first time in years I felt lighter, like a man who had been carrying a burning house on his back before dropping it. 2 weeks later, the mediation hearing took place. They assumed I was bluffing. They entered the conference room like royalty, my father in his pricey suit, my mother in her phony tears, and Ramona in full designer armor. All three sat across from me like vultures waiting to pounce. But then my attorney opened the folder. Exhibits A through G included bank statements, written loan agreements, screenshots of texts where they blatantly insulted me while demanding more money, voicemails where Ramona joked about how easy it was to get me to pay, a couple of recordings from when they thought I wasn't listening. Their features drained of color as each page slid over the table. My sister's false confidence crumbled first. She looked around, hoping for someone to stop the bleeding. "Where did you get all this?" she asked quietly, her voice faint. "I keep the proceeds, Ramona," I replied simply. "Unlike you." My father was next. His voice was brittle. "This isn't necessary. We can resolve this like adults." "You had years to behave like adults," my lawyer said sternly. "You chose exploitation. You're fortunate we're offering a private settlement instead of criminal charges." My mother played her final card, guilt. "You're destroying this family." "No," I replied. "You destroyed it. I'm just documenting the wreckage." Silence. Even Ramona, the skilled manipulator, had no response. The ultimate settlement was harsh for them, but magnificent for me. Full payback schedule. There would be no more financial contact allowed. Failure to comply? Immediate court appearance with criminal charges of money fraud and coercion. They signed. They had no choice. As I walked out of the building that day, my sister's parting words followed me like a wounded animal's whimper. "You'll regret this." I turned to her one more time. "No," I said, smiling. "For the first time in my life I won't." The deal was struck. But the battle had not ended. In many respects, it was only the beginning. For the first time in years, I severed every financial artery they had comfortably leached from. The payments stopped. The favors ceased. The emergencies were no longer mine to resolve. And that's when terror kicked in. 3 weeks after the mediation, my mother called. Of course, not to apologize. Simply testing the waters. "Sweetheart, I was just wondering if we could talk privately." No lawyers, no anger. I paused for a bit, absorbing the desperate tone in her voice. "I have nothing to discuss," I answered gently. "The settlement speaks for itself." Her voice crackled. "But you're punishing us, Malcolm. You're tearing this family apart." "You tore it apart long before the lawyers showed up," I said angrily, hanging up. But it did not end there. They didn't believe I was serious. They'd spent years transforming me into their subservient, spineless provider. And now the puppet was cutting his own cords. A few days later, my father showed up uninvited at my flat. The knock was harsh and urgent. I opened the door to see him standing there, his usually confident posture slightly slumped. He appeared smaller somehow, as if the weight of his own decisions was finally crushing him. "We need to fix this," he continued, attempting to sound firm while only managing to sound pathetic. "There's nothing to fix," I said. "You think you've won something here?" he screamed, raising his voice. "You'll be alone for the rest of your life. Family forgives. You'll regret this." I stared at him, my voice icy as ice. "You don't get to preach forgiveness to the person you robbed." He opened his mouth to retaliate, but no words emerged. The silence between us sounded louder than any dispute we had ever had. Finally, he rushed away, mumbling insults beneath his breath. And then Ramona snapped. Despite her bluster, she was always the most vulnerable. But I had miscalculated how badly her small kingdom would disintegrate. 2 months after the settlement, she called, not to apologize or make peace, but to threaten. "I hope you're happy," she spat into the phone, practically spilling. "You humiliated me. My credit's destroyed. My accounts are frozen because of your little lawsuit." "You destroyed your own credit when you lived on my money for half a decade," I answered without arguing. She laughed cruel. "You think you've won? You're pathetic, Malcolm. You'll never be anything but bitter and alone. You'll never have a family because no one would ever choose to be with you." Her statements were intended to cut deep. However, they didn't. Not anymore. Because I now knew something. Her only true power was the guilt she could instill in me. And the guilt was gone. "You're wrong," I stated softly. "Because for the first time in my life I've chosen myself." So I hung up. The fallout was significantly worse after that. I heard rumors from distant relatives. My parents were obliged to sell one of their vacation houses to pay off what they owed me. My dad's retirement plans disappeared overnight. The posh country club membership was terminated. Ramona's luxurious SUV, which she enjoyed flaunting, was repossessed. Ramona has moved back in with my parents. Her Instagram account quietly vanished. No more flawlessly staged trips. No more phony luxury posts. Just silence. They attempted to portray their failure as my betrayal to anybody who would listen. People talk and people listen. And gradually the narrative transformed. More family began to withdraw from them, softly revealing that they had always believed Ramona was a parasite and that my parents had helped her. The final blow arrived unexpectedly. One afternoon my attorney called. "There's been a development," he stated. "The district attorney's office opened a preliminary investigation into possible tax fraud tied to the funds you transferred over the years." I blinked. "Wait, tax fraud?" he explained. "Apparently your parents had never properly reported the financial assistance you had given them over the years. They had presented it as gifts to the IRS, despite the amounts being far beyond non-taxable thresholds. Combined with the paper trail we had gathered for the civil case, it was enough to trigger federal interest. In other words, their selfishness could cost them even more." I sat there for a while, processing everything. "This could ruin them," I admitted hesitantly. "Yes," my attorney agreed. "But it wasn't your doing. They built this house of cards. All you did was finally stop holding it up." Weeks later, my mother left me a final message. Her voice sounded low, vulnerable, and defeated. "Malcolm, please. We were wrong. I see that now. Your father can't sleep at night. Ramona, she's not well. We're lost without you. Please call me. Please." I listened to the message twice. Then I gently removed it. Because after all these years of manipulation, betrayal, and being treated like a human ATM, I no longer required their approval. I no longer required them at all. The chains were broken. They had been calling me a loser for years. But in the end, I was the only one who went away unscathed. 1 year later, I sat in my office, admiring the beautiful skyline. The air smells different, like freedom. My life had changed completely. My family's avarice, manipulation, and never-ending demands no longer weigh heavily on me. For the first time in my adult life, I wasn't living to support someone else's poor choices. And they were still unraveling. After the tax fraud probe gained traction, things for them spiraled much faster than I anticipated. My parents were hit with severe fines. Federal audits revealed decades of dishonest bookkeeping. Their golden years were now consumed by unpaid bills, legal fees, and blocked assets. The house they loved to display as a sign of their success? Sold. At auction. Ramona, poor Ramona, had it even worse. Her credit was devastated and her bank accounts were suspended. And when the IRS began investigating her finances, they discovered things I had no idea about. Offshore transfers, unpaid business taxes, and fake shell companies she used to conceal side hustles from her own husband. It became criminal. Indictments were issued. She begged to avoid prison. The same sister who once called me a loser as she slammed the Christmas door in my face now works night shifts as a waitress, barely making ends meet. Her luxury? The handbags have long since been sold. Her Instagram was deleted. Her fake influencer lifestyle came to an end. Her fall was spectacular. But none of it gave me any real satisfaction. The real victory was internal. For years they had taught me that I was worthless unless I could help them. They weaponized guilt. They weaponized the family. But when I finally cut the cord, I realized something incredibly simple. Their love was always conditional. My love for myself should never have been. Last week, I received a farewell handwritten letter from my mother. "David, I know you won't forgive us. I see it now. You were always the strongest even while we viewed you as the weakest. We have failed you. I hope you can find serenity. We can't ask for your assistance anymore. We can't ask for anything. I genuinely apologize." I read it once, twice, and then carefully placed it into the shredder. Because this was no longer my responsibility. As I sat back, my phone vibrated. It was a communication from my attorney. "The IRS investigation is officially closed. There are no additional claims against you. You're completely cleared." I smiled. For the first time in years, I had complete closure. No more legal pitfalls. No more debt. No more family shackles. I had created something they could never destroy. A life that was finally mine. They called me a loser. However, the fact was simple. I was never a loser. I was their lifeline. Once I cut the cord, they drowned in their own avarice,